The Film Basement is filmed in sunny West Hartford, Connecticut, in front of a live studio audience.
Welcome to the Filmmaker's Basement, where some weeks we get so sick we can't even record a podcast. I'm Brandon Gasparino.
I'm Andrew.
And this week we're going to be coming at you with a little bit of something different to make up for not being around last week, because I was horrifically sick with a head cold. We're going to be doing a kind of double feature of sorts. First 30 minutes, we're going to be talking about some of the movies we saw this week. I'm going to do a little bit of Pilot Wings in the middle there. And then at the end, in the last 30 minutes, we're actually going to do a review of Last Night in SoHo, because we both ended up seeing that. So this should be a nice long episode to make up for missing our first one. And on that note, the movie I ended up seeing for this first part was Antlers. So, in an isolated Oregon town, a middle school teacher and her sheriff brother become embroiled with her enigmatic student, whose dark secrets lead to terrifying encounters with an ancestral creature. So, the idea of this movie is basically this kid's family gets cursed by this ancient spirit, and as a result, this kid now has to take care of the thing that is inhabiting his father and his little brother, while also still trying to go to school and be a student and do all that good stuff. As a result, his teacher notices, along with her cop brother, and they start looking into his life and realizing how kind of like things have gotten really bad for him. And it's kind of like this allegory for abuse, in that like we see different like cycles of abuse taking place. For instance, the son is suffering under the monster his father has become. His dad was a drug dealer before he became cursed by this beast. And now, as a result, he, like, is very abusive towards not only him, but his younger brother, who is also impacted by this curse. So we see that play out there. The teacher, who's, like, looking into this kid, the reason why she's looking into this kid is because she recognizes abuse from when she was abused as a child. So another person who is, again, dealing with the consequences of abuse and the impact that has on the people around you. And then additionally, another good example is the unrealized abuse that her cop brother faced at her father's hands. Because when she was a young child, well, not that young, actually, I guess when she was a teenager, she left, leaving him behind with her abusive father. And we never really dive into what happens to him, but you get the idea that, like, something happened, and this kid was not okay being left alone for all this time. And then in the end, this becomes, like, a weird, like, the cycle of abuse continues again with the son kind of being hinted at becoming an abuser by being inhabited by this demon, but it's kind of confusing messaging, honestly, and it doesn't seem great considering the topic, which I thought was a little bit questionable. And I should also say, I thought I was so excited for this movie because it seemed like a great concept, like family being terrorized by this weird, like, antler, like this weird deer monster. This looks so cool. But unfortunately, it just feels like a very generic horror movie. And it felt also very slow for a movie that was an hour and a half long. Like, they really dragged it out. Yeah, like, very slow. Nothing seems to really happen in the movie until the last 20 minutes when the creature's revealed. And it's like, oh, now things are amping up. But besides that, not really much happens. It's very generic. Like, it's like that kind of, like, horror movie where everyone looks tired. Like, the movie looks blue because they color graded it blue. And, like, not really anything special or memorable, like, happens to differentiate it from a lot of those other movies. Though what I will say, what really drew me into this movie was the design of the monster. It kind of looks like a mix between, like, a man and a massive deer with, like, antlers coming out of all parts of its head. It's wild looking. And it was my favorite part of the movie was how good that monster looked. Because they must have focused really on making him look good in CGI. Because the monster's not in a lot of the movie. It's, like, kind of in the background as, like, the father is almost becoming the monster, and then eventually, towards the end, it appears, and we see it. So I guess they had to, but they saved, like, their budget for that. And it shows. It looks really good. And all the scenes it's in are absolutely horrifying, with some really good jump scares mixed in with that. But overall, I don't think I could recommend it. It's not really, it's just nothing special. It's just kind of like a movie I'm going to forget in a year from now. Which is sad, because I remember the trailers for this movie back before the pandemic hit. Because I think this got postponed as a result of the pandemic. Because I remember originally, I think there was going to be a release for sometime in 2020. Because I remember trailers for it coming back out in 2019. But yeah, a little disappointing, but cool monster design. So it is what it is.
It sounds confusing.
It's not really confusing.
Everything you just said, I was like, I may have not been like half listening, but like the half that was listening, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, so like, is it a horror movie?
Yes, it's a horror. It's 100% a horror movie.
With a real monster, or is it like a monster?
It's both. The monster is a representation of abuse, I think, but it is an actual thing that people are being inhabited by.
Oh.
So it's there, but it is also the symbol of abuse. But
it's weird.
Yeah, it was just kind of a weird, very generic movie.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing to it really.
Well, on that note, this week I went back to my roots and saw the highest grossing movie of the weekend, more than likely, because Marvel's Eternals came out this past week. I don't even know what to say about it. Like,
I imagine you loved it, because the way you're talking about it is like, it just seems like you liked it.
It was a movie. It was a Marvel movie. That's what it was.
Really?
It wasn't really good. It wasn't really bad. It was just kind of. The one thing I did like about it is it didn't bring back any recurring Marvel characters. So it felt like finally we got another movie with just like new characters that we don't know. Like Shang-Chi had characters we've already seen before. It was a new character they introduced to the movie, but you had Wong from Doctor Strange in it. You had Abomination from the Incredible Hulk movie in it. So you saw characters from that are all in the same universe. And so this one takes place after Avengers Endgame. And an unexpected tragedy forces the Eternals, who are ancient aliens who have been living on Earth in secret for thousands of years, out of the shadows to reunite against mankind's most ancient enemy, the Deviants. The Deviants are creatures from another realm, I guess, I think. I mean, it goes more into it, like, in the movie. I don't want to try to give, like, a lot of it away. It just came out on Friday, just in case people who are watching this haven't gone to see it yet. So the Eternals, they are basically underlings of Celestials. So the Marvel has finally introduced Celestials to the cinematic universe, which are like enormous planet-sized, and so the Celestials have had been in the MCU before, with Russell Crowe's character Ego from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Technically, he's a Celestial. He was a planet, but we've never seen. And we have seen the head of a Celestial in Guardians of the Galaxy as well, with Nowhere, which is, it was basically just a head floating in space that wasn't powered anymore. But now we got to see like a real life, living, talking Celestial, and they big. There was they go to him a couple of times to speak, and like they get held in the palm of their hand, like they're just like a tiny grain of rice, which is cool. It was a cool like I don't want to say set design, because obviously it's all CGI, but it was a cool representation of the Celestials and like what we're finally going to see, and maybe we're finally going to see Galactus soon, because Galactus is also a Celestial, who's a world eater. I know the next big bad is Kang the Conqueror, because that was set up with like the Marvel TV shows. Spoilers, if you haven't watched Loki, go watch it. But it's been out for a while, so I'm not don't get mad at me. But This was just kind of like, there was a lot of people that were saying that this was like one of the worst Marvel movies they ever made, and I was like, it's not the worst. Like it's not the worst, but it's not like Iron Man 1 or like Captain America Winter Soldier, like on
So
that par.
on that topic, I guess this is the meat of it. What made it so middling?
It jumps around a lot. So Eternals are they're undying. They're undying, unaging beings who have been on Earth since, I think it said like 500 BC or something. So they've been on Earth for almost like 3,000 years or something like that, and they don't age. They don't get older or anything, and they're the same form every time. They don't change their form. So like they keep going like to the current events that's happening, and then like in the middle of the movie it'll just cut back to the past, and it did that like 4 times. Like it would cut back to like when they were in Mesopotamia, and then it would cut and it would go back to the present time, and then it would cut back to when they're in the Babylon, and then it would go back to normal time and do the events there, and then it would cut back to like the Aztecs when they were around with the Aztecs. And I mean, it was cool because you got to see like these characters throughout history and throughout different eras, and it was kind of neat. Like it was kind of neat seeing like some of the things, like the Eternals were actually the ones that were responsible for Babylon. And the other thing too with it is, I didn't really understand this about like the Eternals, because the Eternals are completely new to me, and I think they're new to a lot of people, because not a lot of, it's like Guardians of the Galaxy. When Guardians of the Galaxy came out, not a lot of people knew who Guardians of the Galaxy were. But this movie is not going to be on that level of Guardians of the Galaxy where it's going to just take off. The ending kind of was surprising, kind of not. I didn't like how they did it with the bad guys, or the antagonists, excuse me, in movie terms. So I wasn't a fan of how they did the antagonists and everything, and then I wasn't a fan of how like the antagonists, like the movie ended. Like I thought it was neat, but after like the climax of the ending, one of the antagonists just like kills himself, and I was like, that's anticlimactic, but okay. So like one of the characters, and it was actually kind of cool seeing like the different characters' names, because like one of the characters' names was Icarus, which, if anyone knows about Greek mythology, Icarus flew too close to the sun, and yeah, that's the thing is, like, so you had Icarus. Angelina Jolie's character's name is Thena, and there's a couple of characters in the movie that didn't know her at all. They would say Athena, and she's like, no, just Thena, drop the A. So like you're like, oh, so are the Eternals responsible for like Greek mythology? Is that what's happening? Is that what they're trying to impression me on? And I was like, okay. Cersei, I don't know the mythology around the name Cersei, but I know it comes up a lot.
It's from the Odyssey. I know that.
Is it?
I think she's a witch that they encounter during that trap. I think she's the one that turns them all into pigs or something like that. Yeah,
and then what was the Korean guy's name? Korean guy's name was the African American character, his name was Festus. So like, and he's a builder. So Hephaestus, like from Greek mythology. There was the Korean guy's name character was Gilgamesh, which Gilgamesh is
self-explanatory.
Yes, pretty much self-explanatory. So like, I don't know, it was interesting to see. The Kumail Nanjiani's character's name was Kingo, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know if there's any like Indian mythology around that name, so I'm not sure.
I have no idea where that comes from.
And then there was one character whose name was Sprite, and I'm like, all I can think of was a soft drink, and I'm like, that's where Sprite came from. Like, I was like,
well, Sprite's like a little fairy, so like, I guess. Adds up.
And I had thought that what's his name was in this movie. Am I mistaken? The guy who plays the new Flash.
Oh, I have no idea.
You know his name. You know who I'm talking about, though, right?
Not a clue. No.
Oh, Ezra Miller.
Okay.
Ezra Miller, who was in Flash. He was in the first Beasts movie.
Mhm.
Maybe because it looks that the character or the actor that plays that character, who I thought was Ezra
Mhm.
Miller's character, he looks just like Ezra Miller, and I was like, oh, it's Ezra
Interesting.
Miller, and it wasn't, and I was like, it was bothering me like the whole movie. I was just like, is that Ezra Miller? No, it's not. And I was
Could
like, wasn't he
be.
supposed to be? And I was just thinking about that like during the movie.
Okay. I do.
Um,
I do have another thing I want to
go ahead.
double back onto. When you were talking about before how like they kept doing random flashbacks in like the middle of the movie to like them in the past, does that lead to anything, or is it just like there for flavor?
Kinda. So like, um, so let me think. Athena, the Angelina Jolie's character, was in was kind of going crazy. Like her mind. So like there was something going on. You'll find out when you watch the movie like what's kind of going on. But there's something going on with her mind where it's cracking, and like something's going on with her head. So she is attacking her fellow Eternals, like, and she's going like crazy, and like they showed that like a couple of times like in the past, like her kind of just starting to crack, and like you can actually see some of like the cracks starting to form in her head, so like it's coming, and then that's kind of how you find out that Athena and Gilgamesh have been alone for like 2,000 years or something, or like 500 years, or it was something like that. So I was like, okay, and then they go find them, and then that's how they kind of explain that, and then they go through like the breakup of like the team of like, so like they break up the team when they're at the when they're in the Aztecs, when they're in the Aztec time frame, and then everyone goes off and lives like their own life, and so it was just, I don't know, I could keep track, like I could keep track of everything that was going on. It was so much jumping around that I was like,
It just wasn't worth it. Like,
yeah,
it
it was
helped
a
the movie.
lot of exposition. There was a lot of exposition,
Oh, that's bad.
and I think that it was because it's a new group. Like I said, not a lot of people know who the Eternals are or what the Eternals are. So, and I was upset because Kit Harington's character,
He's in
Dane.
that.
Yep. So Kit Harington, and it's funny because I thought of this like whenever I was watching the trailers, and when I rethought of it when I was watching the movie, because the names kept popping up, or the name
Yeah.
kept popping up. But Kit Harington and Richard Madden are in a movie together with a character named Cersei, and I was like, that's really funny. Like, so,
Maybe that was what the throwback was too.
yeah. But so Kit Harington's character, Dane, is an iteration of the Black Knight, who we've also not seen in the MCU, and they never got to it. Like they never got to like him. They like teased it like at the end. He was talking to Cersei about his lineage and about his past and his family, and like they were about to do it, and then something happened. Like I said, I'm not giving it away, but like something happened and it got cut short, and I'm like,
I mean, they're also probably saving that for another movie, I'd imagine.
yeah, well,
that's more
and then,
fodder for the future.
So then there are post-credit scenes.
Of course.
There are two. So if you're going to go see the movie, there are two post-credit scenes, obviously, with this one. The first one, I thought it was underwhelming, because I didn't know who the character was. There was other people in the theater, probably bigger nerds than me, who were all like, and like really excited about the character that came on screen, and I was like, okay, like I don't know who that is.
Yeah,
Like,
it's underwhelming.
yeah. So I was like, okay. And then the final post-credit scene at the very end, which is always something that doesn't really set up the next movies or whatever. It had Kit Harington, which he finally got out the Eternal Blade from, like, which is his blade for being Black Knight, and he's about to like reach for it, and it's like really zoomed in on his face, and then you hear a voice that says, "Do you really want to do that? Do you really think it's time to do that, Dane?" And then that's it. It goes to black. So like so you heard the voice, but unless you know who the actor was that was that voice, you don't know who that was. So like I left the theater. I didn't think about it until like later on, and I was talking with other people about it. But I left the theater like, who, what?
Who
It's like
are
like
you?
yeah, it's like, why would you not show the person? Like maybe they want to reveal that character later.
I assume it's again just saving
I'm like,
it.
so I'm like, there was no like the first post credit scene. I guess was a big surprise to everybody and a big shock, and like, but I was like, okay, like I don't know who that is. Like I don't. And then the second one, it was just like, what? It's gonna leave it like hanging like that, like no, like the speculation that people are gonna have. So like, I don't know. It was a Marvel movie. Like I said, I didn't really go into it expecting much, if that makes any sense. Like I was just kind of like, meh. Like,
so
it's Marvel. It's
would
journals.
you recommend people seeing this just because it's
Yeah.
a Marvel movie?
Well,
and,
yeah, go
like,
watch it because it's part of the
yeah.
MCU. Like, if you like watching the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is the first movie after Endgame, and it's the first movie a part of Phase 4, which right? Phase 4?
I don't know. But just out of curiosity though, let's say you're not really connected to the MCU at all. As a standalone movie, would you recommend people see it?
No.
Okay. So,
I mean,
for invested fans, probably check
if
it
you
out.
don't,
Me too,
if you don't care about Marvel, like if you don't care about Marvel, don't go watch it because like there's no point. You're gonna get confused because it's all stuff around. I mean, it's fun. It had really good moments. Like it's a Marvel movie. It had really funny moments. Kumail Nanjiani kind of killed it. He's a comedic actor though, so I kind of I expected his character to be funny, and I was surprised. I was not pleasantly surprised, but pleasantly. I was I was like, oh, cool, yeah, Kumail Nanjiani, he's gonna be funny, and sure enough, like, yep, he sure was funny. Like, yeah, I'm in for it. So I guess no, it wasn't. It's not the first movie of Phase 4. It's the second movie of Phase 4 because Shang-Chi was the first movie of Phase 4. So well, actually, I guess Black Widow technically in my screen is black now.
Yeah, I was about to say, why did you go?
I clicked on a page
okay.
and it was a black background.
Gotcha.
So yeah, technically I guess Black Widow is Phase 4, but Black Widow is previous events and she doesn't exist. Well, she exists, but she's dead now. So yeah, I guess then the first real movie would be Shang-Chi. So this would be the second one. And then the third one, which will be coming up next month, is the one that everyone should go see, which is Spider-Man. So,
well, yeah, that's just gonna be. Spider-Man's just a good time. Like, yeah. You can't hate Spider-Man. He's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm very
Tom
excited.
Holland's great.
I'm very excited to see that one, and like I've stayed away from all of the like online reviews and spoilers and all that stuff, and I've only watched the one trailer, and that's the only trailer I'm gonna watch. Is I want it to be good. Like I'm praying that it's gonna be good.
It'll definitely be good.
Yeah.
But moving on to our essentially, I guess this is our mid-roll technically. We have Pilot Wings, which has the worst graphic of all time.
I haven't even seen it yet.
You shouldn't watch it. It's bad. I need to make another one. It's legitimately horrible. Okay, so Andrew, you've played this game a few times before, but for those who haven't, Pilot Wings is a game show where I pitch Andrew 3 different shows that were being made, 3 pilots. 2 of them are real, 1 of them is fake. Andrew has to suss out which is the fake one using his superior television watching skills. So, to start off, Rebecca left her family's Texas ranch years ago to work at an upscale hotel in New York. But after being promised ownership of the ranch by her smooth-talking cowboy dad, Bo, she's back and ready to utilize her big city tactics to turn their rustic ranch into a destination spot oozing Southern hospitality. Getting her siblings to fall in line with her vision will be the real thorn in Rebecca's side, and that's going to be even harder once Bo reveals a life-changing family secret. Number 2. A dysfunctional family comedy about a stuck-in-his-ways and opinionated fading TV star who moves in with his progressive daughter, her girlfriend, and the child they're raising together. And 3. When Michael got fired from his last waiting gig, he thought he'd hit rock bottom, but an unlikely encounter with the city's wealthiest restaurateur ends with him being employed at the finest restaurant in the city. He's going to need everything he has in order to keep this job waiting for the best and pickiest patrons around. All right, Andrew, which one do you think is the fake one?
Wow, those are some good ones this week. Because they all sound fake.
That's my trick now. I figured out if I pick bad sounding pilots, you can't differentiate from the ones I make.
Do you like pull word for word what the pilot description is?
I will say the one thing I remove is the actors' names, just because I don't want to make up actors' names. But besides that, this is word for word.
But yeah, no, like I would have removed the actors' names too. But all of those are word for word from the pilot.
Yes.
Those are terrible pilots. Those are all terrible pilots, and I don't know if that's a compliment to your writing skill, or if it's like a diss on the actual writers who wrote the pilot.
I'll take both, honestly. Oh man.
What the hell? All right, so the first one. The first one sounds like it sounds like that Netflix show, the comedy.
Are you thinking of Schitt's Creek?
No, the Ashton Kutcher and
I don't know.
The Ranch with Ashton Kutcher and the guy who plays Hyde from That 70s Show.
Okay.
And the guy with the real deep sounding voice who does the Ram truck commercials.
Oh, is that Mike Lowe?
Elliott? No, Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott.
Okay.
With a big white mustache.
Oh yeah, cowboy dude.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what show you're talking about. The one
because the other thing too is like his name is Bo in the show, in that show.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're taking ideas from other things. The second one sounds terrible, but it sounds like a show that they would make right now. Like it sounds like something Tim Allen would star in.
Honestly, if I were to pick anyone just like playing the lead in that show, it would be like Larry David. Like,
you could do that. But like now, Larry David,
though, to be fair, Larry David could be in any of these shows.
Yeah, fair. Larry David, I don't know, because Larry David is not very like conservative, is he? I don't think he is. But like I know from Curb Your Enthusiasm, he can be like play a shit. Oh yeah. So that's why he can. I could see that. But I could definitely see like I don't know after watching like the Tim Allen clips of like that show he does. And then the last one, I don't know. That sounds also terrible. Yeah. And I'm just kind of drawing this out, but I'm gonna go with the third one.
Okay, the third one is the fake one. Are you locking that in?
Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, that's the fake. That was the fake one.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Okay, so the first one was called Southern Hospitality, and shockingly, it didn't get made because that is a terrible
big
concept.
Surprise. Yeah.
And then the second one is called it was just an untitled Kenya Barris show, and it said it got pushed off cycle. So I assume that means it got brought back up in a later pilot season or something like that. But yeah, that's Pilot Wings for this week. I gotta keep going with this tactic of picking bad pilots because that seems to work in my favor. Not this time, but I think it could in the future. Okay, moving on from that. Now we get to the movie I have a lot of opinions on, Last Night in Soho, and I didn't look up a trailer thing for this. But...
Your opinions might be different from mine.
Well, my main gripe is with the trailer, so I have a small rant I want to go on about the trailer. Once I can find an IMDb thing. Last Night in Soho. Here we go. An aspiring fashion designer is mysteriously able to enter the 60s, where she encounters a dazzling wannabe singer. But the glamour is not all it appears to be, and dreams of the past start cracking and splinter into something darker. Okay, and I have to talk about the trailer, because originally I was very high on this movie as a result of the trailer. I showed it to my girlfriend, actually. She was also very excited about this movie because of the trailer. Because it looks like this really cool costume drama set in the 60s. Like, it's very flashy, very cool, with a very interesting time travel premise. And it looked like this murder mystery, and I was so about that. And this is why I hate misleading trailers. And why I think trailers, making a trailer isn't art. What I aspire always when looking for a trailer is something that doesn't reveal a lot about the movie, but reveals just enough to get you excited about it. That comes with a caveat, though, that you have to match the tone of the movie when you're doing that. And I don't think Last Night in Soho's trailer matches the tone of the movie. At least it does, at least for the first half of the movie. But then in the second half, it takes a very drastic turn and goes from being this, what seemed to be very fun, like mysterious, but also like kind of dark movie into brutally murdering people with like lots of sex, sexual violence, and just like getting really trippy and weird throughout the whole thing. Like, and me and my girlfriend saw this together. We were not prepared for, I think you know the scene I'm talking about in the middle where it gets really violent out of nowhere. And we almost considered walking out of the movie because it was that bad.
Oh,
like,
wow.
I legitimately, actually, I should probably preface this. For those who don't know, I've been stabbed before.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I didn't know so I'm going to say a trigger warning for anyone who watches this movie. There's a violent stabbing in the middle of the movie that is a little too real. And yeah, so we both considered walking out at that exact moment because she was not having
when Eloise brings back her guy friend, right?
Yes, that exact moment.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it because
No.
I should also say
I was trying to think of how to say it without spoiling it.
Needless to say,
when Eloise brings back her guy friend to her house.
So yeah, there's a violent murder that takes place with a knife, and it is a lot. It is a lot to take in. What I will say is that I wish they had made this more apparent, because when you look at the rate, like the MPAA rating for it, it says it's a hard R, and it says it's a psychological horror. That is not made apparent by the trailer for this movie at all. It does not look like a psychological horror. So
I guess I never watched the trailer.
It's very the trailer matches the first half of the movie, where it feels like you're just embodying this character, you're enjoying the 60s, you know something's about to happen, and this girl's somebody's gonna get murdered. But like you don't know when it's gonna happen, you don't know who did it, and like you're trying to all that good stuff. It doesn't cover anything that happens in the later half of the movie. Which I will say is still good. I just wish they had prepared me for that. Because I was not prepared for that, and it was just a lot to handle. All being thrown at me all at once. I don't know if you want to take a second and watch the trailer.
No, I mean, I'll watch it later.
But I will say I still did like it, and I'll go into why I liked it, but what were your initial thoughts on it?
I loved it. I love psychological thrillers. I hate horror movies, but like hate them. I don't like being jump scared. I don't mind gore, but I'm not gonna go watch like Halloween Kills.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna go watch Halloween Kills because I'm not looking to poop myself in the middle of the theater. But I'll go watch like Saw. It's weird. I'm weird. So like, because it's like, it's gory.
It's totally it's a different vibe because you have the expectation going in that they're gonna like
but
kind of what's gonna happen, and
I'm also not gonna go watch something like because I get a little queasy when it comes to some of this. So like some of the later Saw movies, I'm like,
see, Saw is not my thing. I don't like
and then
gore.
Like Hostel, no thanks. Like I'm good on Hostel. But like a psychological horror, which I didn't really. So I went into this movie not knowing. I went into this movie like with fresh mind because I never saw the trailer. I only knew that it was about a girl who somehow was time traveling back to the 60s and reliving an actress's life and her murder, and she was trying to stop her from being murdered. And I was like, how the hell are they gonna pull this off? Because like, they're like, what is she trying? Is she time? Is it like a science fiction movie? Like what? And so like I went into this like, and I didn't read any reviews, I didn't read anything. So like, and it was one of those weeks where I was like, well, I'm not gonna go watch anything else because everything else that's out sucks. So I was like, I guess I'll go see this. So I went, and I was a little late, so I missed like the first 5 minutes. But when I went into the movie, she was in the cab and she was being harassed by the guy, and I was like, well, that's uncomfortable. And then, you know, so the basic premise of the movie is that she's in college and she doesn't like her roommate, which is fair, because that girl was a B word. And then, and also she was trying really hard to like one up people. Like she was that type of girl. I was like, oh, you're the worst. You are the worst person.
A perfect motivator to move out of out of there and go to an apartment.
So she goes and finds this apartment that's like above a Greek restaurant, right? Was it Greek or
French.
Italian? So French, maybe it was French. Yeah. Some Mediterranean whatever restaurant. And so, and she's like this old soul kind of girl. She likes records. She likes the 60s. She grew up with her grandmother because her mother killed herself.
Yeah. She has like I was born in the wrong generation vibes.
Yes,
at that point
exactly.
in the movie.
And so she moves into this old woman's house who has a lot of rules. And then, it's perfect. I'll take it. And then when she goes to sleep is when she goes back in time.
Yes.
And talking about it, because I haven't really talked about it with anybody yet, but talking about it, I'm kind of figuring things out in my head now after I've seen it like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. But I have to say, the best thing about the movie is how they filmed it. I loved
it was
how
so pretty.
They filmed this movie. Every time you saw Anya Taylor-Joy's character on screen, or I don't want to just say
Matt Smith?
actor. No, Thomasin McKenzie, the girl who played Eloise. Anytime you saw one of them on screen while it was like in the 60s, if there was a reflection, you always saw the other person. And I was like, that is such a good cinematography way to do things to make it seem like that there's two people living one life. Anytime Anya Taylor-Joy was on screen and you saw a reflection, it was always Thomasin McKenzie, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is great.
Yes, the cinematography was fantastic this movie, and
they weren't mirroring each other. Like they were looking at each other.
No,
Anya Taylor-Joy was kind of off in like her own space because she was doing her own thing. But like whenever you saw a reflection, Thomasin McKenzie wasn't mirroring Anya Taylor-Joy. She was looking at her and she was watching her.
It was so good.
And I was like, that's such a good way to film something.
And I'll also say, like, what I will say for this movie is, if you can stomach the gore and you love costume dramas, watch this movie, because oh my god, the setting is it feels like it's London in the 60s, which it shouldn't be surprising because that's what the movie's about, but like it feels like a vibrant, bustling city with like, oh my god, and the lighting's amazing and all the scenes they're in, like cinematography is fantastic, like oh my goodness. And everyone's dressed amazing. Like their costumes are legitimately astounding.
And then halfway through, it just takes a turn.
It takes a hard turn.
And this girl, Eloise, she's reliving this fantasy of living in the 60s, and she's loving it. And like every time someone, like one of the male characters that has like an interest in her, they'll be like, "Hey, are you busy tonight?" And she goes, "Yeah." And like she goes home and goes to bed and ends up being like in the 60s again. And you're just like, oh, you little, like, you're just trying to live in this fantasy world. And then this fantasy world just kind of tumbles around her. And Jack, who's played by Matt Smith, who, if none of you know he plays
the
Doctor Who.
And this was such a switch from being
and
the
he's
Doctor.
played villains before. If you remember, he played a villain in the newest Terminator movie.
Yeah,
he
but
was
this
the
villain
AI.
This villain is so different.
It was so like, well, I mean, he was an AI in Terminator, but like he plays a really good villain, and
not just a good villain, a terrifying villain.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into something else that I saw this weekend that I want to get into after. But like he just plays it so good.
Yes.
Like you're just like, oh, it's just this fun-loving guy. It's the Doctor, and then you're just like, oh my god, like
yes. And what I will say is I love how all of that plays into like the themes of the movie, because I didn't really know this until I was talking with my girlfriend about it on our drive back to my place. But she was like, yeah, this movie's really about generational trauma and how people deal with that. Because as she told me, a lot of like women her age have been told by their parents about all the horrible things that happened to them when they were kids and what they should avoid and all that. And as a result, a lot of these women are now burdened with that trauma. A lot like how Eloise is burdened with, I can't remember, Anya Taylor-Joy's trauma from when she was...
Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy, when she was essentially a singer turned prostitute. And it's all on her. Like, she doesn't have anywhere else to go with it. And it shows in her real life. She falls apart. And I also like how that plays into, like, how we view the past. Like, because there's that phrase, like, you look at the past with rose-tinted glasses. And this movie plays that up perfectly. You start out not knowing a lot about the time period that this took place in, or about the location that it happened in. And like Eloise. And then as you slowly begin to learn more about it, sure, you enjoy it a bit at first, but then you start to realize all the horrible things that were also happening at this time period too. And that starts to take away from how good this past actually seemed. Because in reality, it was just as bad, if not worse, than it is today.
And it turns into a straight, like, it turns into this, like, set piece costume drama into straight horror.
Straight psychological horror, yeah.
And the biggest thing that, if you do go and see it, the biggest thing that I want everyone to realize, or to remember, if you do go and see it, because it was, I was confused in this movie. Like, the entire time in this movie, I'm like, what? How?
I will say real quick.
How is this happening?
I think this would be a great movie to watch twice. Because I feel like there'd be so many more things you'd pick up on.
It is. No, it is. Because, like, it didn't take me until, like, a couple days later that I'm like, oh, yeah. Her mother had schizophrenia.
Yeah.
So, like...
That's one thing
that you have to go into this movie knowing that her mother has schizophrenia, and schizophrenia is genetic.
Yeah.
So when you start to see the things in the movie that Eloise is seeing, it's all going to make sense.
That was another thing me and my girlfriend thought was fantastically done by this movie, is its depiction of schizophrenia. Because I don't think I've seen a better depiction of that in my entire life.
I don't understand how they made the connection between like the schizophrenia and the end of the movie. Like I said, I'm not giving it away. It only came out 2 weeks ago. Yeah. But like I don't understand how they made the connection from schizophrenia to the real life what was happening in real life. And so like I was like
I can kind of see it through.
Is it haunted? Like, and this is not like I'm trying not to give stuff away, but it's like is it trying to tell me that this is it's like a paranormal movie? Does she have a sixth sense about these kind of things? Like, or is that just her schizophrenia popping up? Like,
yeah. And what I liked is how it played that line, because you can never really like. I feel like by the end you can definitely make you can make a guess as to which it is, but throughout the rest of it, it's just like, I don't know which this could be. Is this schizophrenia, or is this actually real haunting? I legitimately can't tell. And what I will also say in that same vein is, this is another thing. If any of you out there have seen Hill House, specifically the first season, I think you'll really like this movie. Because it also has, again, a very similar theme of the ghosts of our past haunting ourselves, and how that manifests in our own life. But also very good. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. It was, all three main characters were awesome.
They were so
good.
They
were great. Thomas and Mackenzie, Matt Smith, Anya Taylor-Joy. Like, it was really, really, and oh my god,
I don't
is
think
she
honestly.
gorgeous. Like
Honestly,
Anya Taylor-Joy
yes.
is like one of my new favorite up and coming
No,
actresses.
she's fantastic.
But I was like, oh my god. And it's funny because she reminds me of somebody. Like she looks so much like somebody I know in real life, and I'm like, it freaks me out.
What I'll
a little
also
bit.
say is, I don't think there was a bad performance in this entire movie. Like, I can't think of a single person where it's like, I didn't like their performance. They were all good.
Miss Collins was good, which is the landlord.
The boyfriend was fantastic. He was like the knight in
wasn't
shining
really
armor.
Boyfriend, but yeah, the love interest, I guess you'll say. The first antagonist of the movie, which was the roommate, like she played a perfect.
The old man.
God,
he's awesome.
The old man,
like, he's so good.
That's okay. So that's another thing. Like the movie kind of throws you a curveball because you're thinking this whole movie that you're like,
don't talk about it. Don't talk about it because it's so spicy.
No, I know. I'm not gonna go into like a lot of it, but like you start to pick up on things and you're like, oh,
yes,
oh, and then you're like, oh, yes. So like, yeah,
and that's why I think it'd be so good on a second watch because you like knowing that stuff, especially with what the old landlady says.
That I know that guy too. What is his name?
He's from. He's been in something. I don't know.
He's been in a lot of things.
Probably.
It's Terrence Stamp. Yeah.
I don't know what he's been in.
He was in Get Hard. Not Get Hard. What was that movie with Steve Carell, the comedy in The Rock? The one that was a remake from the old TV show, Get Smart.
I never
he
saw
played
it.
the villain for. You never saw that? Oh, it was a good movie. He was in Get Smart. I mean, he's played a lot of stuff. Oh,
he looks familiar.
Oh, Jimmy. He was Jor-El in Smallville.
Was he on Doctor Who actually?
Jimmy would have got mad if I didn't say that. No, he was not. I mean, unless he was in the original ones.
I don't know. He looks like he could have been in. But what I will say is, definitely see this movie. Like, it is legitimately amazing. And what I'll also say is, when me and my girlfriend saw it, we were the only two people in the theaters watching that movie.
So
which was very weird.
I mean, I saw it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But there was only 4 people in the movie theater when I went.
We saw it at 7:30 at night, and there was we were the only 2 people there, which was so weird. Like,
yeah,
because I didn't think it's really good. Like, I'm legitimately amazed more people aren't seeing this.
It's a really good movie.
What I will say though is, again, if you do not handle strong violence well,
it does say bloody violence on here.
Yeah, but it doesn't make that clear in the trailers, my gripe.
No, but in the MPAA rating, it does say bloody violence, sexual content, language, brief drug material, and brief graphic nudity.
Okay.
Which I didn't see any of that.
I don't know about Oh, well, yeah, I guess kinda. I don't know. But what I will say is, again, I'm just a little bit upset that the trailer was kind of misleading. I wish it had been a little bit more direct about what was going to happen.
Oh, dang. The lady that played Mrs. Collins actually died in real life.
Oh.
That's kind of crazy.
100%, if you can handle, again, a strong amount of violence, watch this movie because it's fantastic.
It was a $43 million budget, and it's only made $12 million gross worldwide.
That's kind of upsetting, honestly.
It is upsetting
because it's so good. It's such a good original concept.
Good. Yeah, it's a really good movie, and it's a good original, like you said, original concept. It's not so like a reboot, remake. It's
again, there's no bad actors.
That's upsetting.
Cinematography's amazing. Soundtrack is wild.
I thought it would have gotten more traction with Edgar Wright being the director.
Yeah, I just don't know why. I don't know how this movie missed out. I don't know if anything bigger came out that weekend, when it first dropped, but it's very weird that nobody's seen it. Okay, well, on that note, let's talk about some of the trailers that are coming out next week. Well, this, I guess, it would be next week still, yeah.
So it's Friday movies, and there's nothing that I know.
Which week, just so I know?
It's week of the 12th.
Okay, week of the 12th. Yeah, there's nothing. You see, it's funny because I was looking at next week too, and there's also nothing for me next week. Not for me, at least. I don't know.
You are out of your mind if there's no trailers
talking about
next
Ghostbusters.
Week. Hell yeah, I'm talking about Ghostbusters.
I'm not going to see Ghostbusters. That's not me.
I'm going to go see Ghostbusters. I don't know. You go see Clifford. I was thinking about going to see Clifford.
Dude, I got to see that just because I feel like it's going to be on the par with Cats and how horrific that dog
the
looks.
the memes from like what the sets designs of Clifford, like if you can find one, throw a picture up of it,
God.
like of Clifford, like
It's so bad.
it's just this monstrous plastic red giant dog shaped piece of plastic, and it's terrifying. And yeah, other than that, I mean,
there's nothing. It's just like nothing.
No, Apex. Maybe it's got Bruce Willis in it. Cool. Yeah. Other than that, no. I'm going to watch the My Hero Academia movie tonight. I'll just
you should
do
that. Yeah.
I'm gonna do that for next week. So like, I'm glad I saved that for next week because there's just nothing next week.
There's nothing.
But yeah.
You know what I'm gonna do finally?
No.
I'm gonna. Okay, because it hasn't been in theaters, and this is the only reason why I haven't watched it. However, it is available to rent out now. I'm probably just going to rent out Lamb, because it's about time I do that.
Oh, yeah, so I was actually going to talk about this, too, because I may actually do Old, because I've been wanting to see Old.
Is that the
M.
Nick
Night
Cage
Shyamalan?
movie?
No, M. Night Shyamalan.
Oh, it's that movie where they're on that island.
They're on the beach, yeah. I've been wanting to see that movie, and it's on AMC On Demand, and Lamb is on AMC On Demand, too.
That's where I was going
to watch it. That's where you should watch that one. So I'm probably going to watch Old, and I'll talk about Old next week.
Yeah.
So, like,
we'll do a throwback.
Yeah, we'll do a throwback episode. But are you not gonna? I mean, I don't know if you care, but like,
I'm just not the biggest Ghostbusters
you don't care
person.
Not Ghostbusters. I mean, you just said you don't care about Ghostbusters, but like, there's
it's not that I don't
movie
care. It's just not like my thing, really.
Sure, whatever. But there's another movie coming out next week that I actually kind of want to go see, and I mean, you're probably not a sports person, but it's King Richard.
Yeah.
It's the story of Serena and Venus Williams. So like, I was interested to go see that too. Like, so I may go see both.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to see Ghostbusters, but I may go see King Richard too. But yeah, other than that, no.
No, it's kind of I'm wondering if there's gonna be more banging stuff coming out in December, but because like I mean,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, like.
But it's funny too because the end of November, like the weekend of Thanksgiving, there's like not much either.
Oh, I forgot. The end of the month actually has some bangers. Have you seen any of the trailers for Licorice Pizza?
Yeah, that movie looks dumb.
I love it. Oh my god, I'm so about it.
I've seen trailers for it at every single movie I've gone to in the last 2 weeks at AMC, and I still don't know what's going on in this movie. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand the trailer. If I don't understand the trailer, I'm not going to go watch the movie. 2 kids falling in
love. It's great.
It's not though. Like I don't. Is it?
Yeah,
like
is like it?
Like is that what it is? It looks like it's like one kid trying to become a director, and the other girl is like, and he's also trying to fall in love with a girl. I don't know.
Well, we shall see. But also, Resident
Evil.
Evil. That's the other movie that I was like kind of about because the trailers don't look horrible for it.
No, they don't. They look good.
Yeah. Which is weird coming from a Resident Evil movie.
And also you have Ridley Scott's House of Gucci.
I don't care about Gucci, honestly.
I might go watch it. Like, it looks good. It's got Adam Driver in it. I'll go watch anything with Adam Driver.
I imagine it'll be good. It's just I don't really care about the Gucci family.
Fair.
Don't really care about rich people.
I don't care about it either, but like if it's kind of based off of true events, like I'll go watch it. I'll go watch Italian.
Listen, Brandon, we're in a film drought.
We
need something. It's either that or Clifford the Big Red Dog.
I'll go watch Italian clothing designers kill each other. Like, I don't care.
That's fair. I think I am legitimately going to have to see Clifford. Because, like, I saw Cats when we did the first run of the Filmmaker's Basement. And I feel like it's in the same vein. I have to.
Interesting.
It looks bad.
It's got a 58.
Really
it's
bad.
A 58 Metascore. It's not terrible.
Clifford looks as bad as the Cats did in Cats. Changed my mind.
No, the Cats looked way worse. Maybe you can do that next week. We'll talk about Cats again.
We'll see where I'm at. But yeah, let's move into our outro. And I know you have something you want to plug for the outro.
So Sports and Nonsense is continuing to be put out on Sunday afternoons at 10 o'clock. So if you want to listen to some guys talk about the week before in like football, if you want to hear us talk about Squid Game, we did a Squid Game review this week. So that was this past episode on Sunday. So you can go listen to it, watch it now. The Squid Game review. We also did what else did we do? We talked about Aaron Rodgers for a little bit because Aaron Rodgers is in the news and he's a dink. So but yeah, what do you have to plug?
Well, I'm going to be plugging our corporate overlord, Jimmy Lou Cars, and his Kickstarter campaign that he's running for his short film that he's trying to get made.
How's that doing?
I'm
going to look it up while you talk about it.
But, okay, so the premise...
It's a GoFundMe. It's not a Kickstarter. It's GoFundMe.
Same thing, but it is on GoFundMe. I'll be posting the link. Well, Andrew will post the link in the comments down below, and I'll put it on screen just so that way you guys can see it. But it's about Sergeant Bailey, who has been in the Air Force for 10 years and has dealt with a lot. Her life seems to be crashing down around her, and she's posted alone. She's right about to end it all when she receives an unexpected visitor from her past. So it's dealing with mental health in the military, which I know is a topic that affects a lot of people out there. Yeah. I know you in particular have a personal experience with that.
Yeah.
It's a really good concept. It's actually a movie he tried to make while he was in college, and he did a pretty good job at it. Funnily enough, I started it, so you'll see my ugly face if you look at the Kickstarter.
It's funny you kept saying she, and I was like, she.
Yeah, I know, right? But
that wasn't,
yeah, it was a good concept at the time. Unfortunately, he just didn't have the time or money to keep making it what it could have been. So he's trying to make that happen now. So if you could, if you could even think about donating just a little bit of money, it doesn't have to be a lot because a little goes a long way. That would be much appreciated. And on that topic, we'll end our hour-long banger. I'm Brandon Gasparino.
I'm Andrew.
And this has been the Filmmaker's Basement. We'll see y'all around.